In August of 2020, Among Us was at its absolute peak with over 400,000 players playing the game at the same time. But now, at best, it only gets over 8,000 players at once. So what happened here?
Gonna control the mic and just talk about me when there's other people to fuck.
Dude, okay, let me break it down. Your mother is a fat cow.
What's he doing?
Oh my god!
What the heck?
You guys, he's literally on our bed.
Wait, what?
And he's watching Jay.
First off, we need to do something that I didn't do in my last two decline videos, and that is go over the origins of Among Us, which most of you probably already know by now if you're clicking on this video, but hey, let's just go over it real quick. Among Us is a game developed and released by indie developer Intersoft in 2018 for Android and iOS, the PC version coming out later that year. In it, there is 1 or 2 or 3 imposters and a bunch of other crewmates who complete tasks in an attempt to work together to foil the imposters' plans to kill everyone on the ship, which would be much easier if they knew who they were. So the game makes it so they have to find out who the imposters are and vote them out with a democratic election system that is perfect in every way, shape, and form. It never saw very much success, with it never reaching over 1,000 concurrent players until 2020. You know what else happened in 2020?
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined.
Of the many odd events and questionable behavior from around this time, there is one thing that was common for almost everyone. They were forced to stay inside their homes. And you know what that means for game companies. Roll in the dollars, baby. Woo! As a result, Among Us started rapidly gaining traction until July, when it started even more rapidly gaining traction, especially in South Korea, Brazil, and Mexico, until August, when it hit its peak with over 400,000 players at once. Finally, it was a hit. A smash hit. Every big internet personality or wannabe big internet personality was playing it. There were clickbait videos, there were songs, there were memes, there were women going crazy over Corpse Husband's 200 IQ imposter plays and okay, let's not get sidetracked here. We got a video to talk about now. Where was I? Now, this kind of success is not very sustainable, as the game's popularity shot down to about 28,000 concurrent players in April 2021, which is still a lot, but a far cry from August of the previous year. Now that begins the...
This looks neat. I wonder...
As many of you should know if you're old enough to watch YouTube, the pandemic lockdowns also ended around this time, so people were going outside, touching grass, and socializing with friends instead of playing Among Us all day. Internet activity in general went down too, so it's not like they had any control over the situation, so the game gradually tapered off in popularity after April 2021, leading us to it normally peaking at 8,000 players per day. Wait, why did this happen exactly? So here's the part where I get analytical, like YouTubers back in the day showing their viewer statistics and telling you to subscribe, which is what I'm doing to you right now. Now, there are 5 reasons why I think Among Us tapered in popularity. First being... So when Intersoft first started, there was about 3 employees up until the popularity increased Among Us. Now, it doesn't take a 2000 IQ sussy imposter player to realize that that's not enough people to properly maintain a game that has hundreds of thousands of concurrent players. So generally, this would cause a lot of issues. And a lot of the issues that I will mention later can be traced back in some way to the lack of employees or money within the company. However, now they have over 70 employees at the company and taking hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue per year now. So I don't think that's really an issue right now.
2 9
THD03.
T
HD03.
H
D03.
Directly stemming from what I mentioned earlier, there wasn't a lot of updates happening, especially during its peak, as the developers couldn't, understandably, properly deal with the jump in popularity with next to no money and employees to help out, with most updates being just bug fixes and quality of life changes, and the first major update since the jump in popularity only coming in March of 2021, with the release of the 4th map, as well as a new and improved reporting system. It just wasn't enough to keep players interested. Now, that major update was far too late to save the game, as it was already bleeding players from its peak. You know what also caused this steep fall?
How to catch cross for beginners. Step 1, get off the game.
Step 2, go outside. Step 3.
This one was mentioned before, so I'm going to keep it brief because I don't want to sound like a broken record here. Among Us rose because of the lack of things to do and ways to socialize during the pandemic. Now, when social distancing mandates started being removed, people started going outside and touching grass instead of being chronically online all day. Next. This is generally an issue with every video game that goes into the mainstream. Large swarms of kids will start to play the games, and big grown-up adults who don't want to play with little kids all day will play some other game, and the kids will think it's cool, and the cycle continues. Generally speaking, even though I'm pretty sure Among Us has an age limit for public chat, that doesn't stop children from playing it or even using it. This has led to 20-year-old Sweats having to play with 4-year-old Timmy who can barely communicate and is accusing everyone of being Sussy Baka and Among Us imposters. Along with that, there have been many adverse effects that can be attributed to large amounts of children to the game, albeit not entirely so, and not all the kids are like how I just described, but a lot of them are. An example of this would be most content on YouTube relating to Among Us catering towards kids, again, despite there being limits for those under 13. Another problem that can be partially attributed to kids, although not entirely, is as developers didn't really have a good anti-cheat to detect cheaters, the game became infested with cheaters as its popularity rose. Just like any other video game that's gotten popular, people would still want to blatantly or secretly cheat in-game, even if it's a casual party game with lobby hosts that can just kick you out themselves. Now, Intersoft did crack down on this too, once they got these cool things called money and employees to work for them. But again, it was too late to save the game. But yeah, those are generally my reasons for Among Us's decline. Now, can it come? As I said before, Intersloth now has a bunch of employees and money to spend in order to better market and update and support the game. That's the reason for decline number 1 and 2 out of the way. Reason number 3, unfortunately, cannot be fixed directly from Intersloth for obvious reasons, but reasons number 4 and 5 have been somewhat addressed, with the player base generally getting older now and with a better anti-cheat being installed, although still kind of questionable. With new improvements to the game like more features, maps, and modes, Among Us is now a deeper game too, and although some can make an argument that the nostalgia has been ruined, you can still play a game with classic Among Us settings if you set up a lobby right. With new rules, a TV show, and improved matchmaking coming up, I think that Among Us is in for a surge of players, as this would bring more exposure to the game and therefore more players, especially due to the TV show and especially due to the improved matchmaking, which I think would improve the game drastically, as good players who can communicate well won't have to deal with Tweedledee and Tweedledum on the side ruining the game. Also, we have seen many popular video games throughout history having had people come back to play them in droves due to nostalgia, and this would probably happen to Among Us pretty soon, like the Minecrafts and Fortnites of before. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.